You know that sound, that strange noise your AC makes sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's alarming, maybe just annoying. A rattle, maybe a bang, or
Right.
like a constant buzz.
Right. Or squealing, hissing, clicking. It could be anything.
Exactly. And when your AC starts making sounds it shouldn't, it really feels like it's trying to tell you something's wrong.
Hmm.
But figuring out what that message is, that's the tricky part.
And you're right. Those sounds are signals. They can range from totally normal, just the machine doing its thing,
Right.
to a warning sign, sometimes a pretty serious one.
Yeah,
And knowing the difference is key, really. Deciding, should I ignore this? Can I fix it myself? Or do I need to call someone right now?
totally. And that's why we did this deep dive. We looked at a whole stack of sources for you.
Okay.
We've got troubleshooting guides from HVAC companies,
Hmm.
Hartzell's Heat and Air, Train. We looked at transcripts from YouTube videos, too.
Helpful ones, I hope.
Yeah. Efficient AC, Electric and Plumbing, Smart AC Solutions, HVACB, those kinds of channels.
Hmm.
And we even dug into a Reddit thread.
Oh, interesting. Real homeowners and techs talking.
Exactly. Sharing their actual experiences with noisy AC units.
Good stuff. So the idea here is to pull out the most important bits from all that.
Right. We want to help you identify those common sounds, understand what might be causing them based on what these folks are saying.
And crucially, why they cause those sounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And figure out which simple troubleshooting steps you might actually be able to do yourself safely.
And maybe just as important, know when that sound means, nope, stop, call a pro.
Definitely. Because getting a handle on these signals isn't just about stopping an annoying noise, right?
Mhm.
It's about understanding your system better.
Being a more informed homeowner.
Exactly. Potentially saving yourself time, maybe stress, definitely money sometimes.
By catching things early.
Yeah, we're just avoiding calling someone out when it's, normal operating noise.
Okay, makes sense. So where should we start decoding those common sounds?
Let's do it. Let's start with one I think a lot of people hear, rattling or banging. Sounds like something's loose, maybe hitting something inside or outside the unit.
Yeah, that mechanical sound. And the sources point to a few things, ranging from pretty simple to more complex.
Like what?
Well, often it is just it's not like something's loose. Could be the panels on the outside unit vibrating,
Okay.
or screws backing out over time. Even fan blades maybe getting unbalanced or hitting something.
I saw debris mentioned a lot too, like actual stuff getting in there, sticks, leaves.
Oh, absolutely. Super common. Leaves, twigs, maybe tall grass growing too close.
Right.
Even little stones can get sucked into that outdoor unit. And then they rattle or bang against the fan or the grill. It's literally something hitting something else.
Makes sense. What about that Reddit thread? Did they mention anything else?
They did. Something less obvious, failed isolation mounts.
Isolation mounts.
Yeah, they're like little rubber feet or springs under the compressor designed to absorb vibration if they wear out or break.
Then the normal vibration isn't absorbed anymore.
Exactly. So the compressor's regular hum turns into more of a rattle or bang against the frame.
Okay, so physical causes. What about things inside the house?
Yeah, unfortunately, it can point to something deeper, too. The blower assembly, the big fan inside that pushes the air.
Mm-hmm.
If that gets misaligned or unbalanced, it can vibrate and cause banging sounds as it spins.
Okay.
And less common, but more serious, sometimes it can mean internal problems inside the compressor itself. But usually it's the simpler stuff first.
So if you hear rattling or banging, what's the first safe step? What can you do?
First things first, always turn off the power to the unit at the breaker.
Right. Safety first.
Definitely. Then take a look. Check the outdoor unit, any panels on the indoor unit you can easily access, see any loose parts.
Okay.
The guides suggest carefully tightening any visible screws or bolts and clear away any debris leaves, sticks, trim that grass back from the outdoor unit.
And when is it time to stop looking and just call someone?
If you've checked for the obvious loose bits and cleared debris and the noise is still there. Yeah.
Or if the sound seems like it's coming from deep inside, especially like a heavy knocking sound, that's when you need expert help.
Because it might be that blower assembly or the compressor.
Exactly. Those usually need special tools and know how to diagnose and fix properly.
Okay, got it. Next up, buzzing. That electrical hum sound.
Right. Buzzing often comes from electrical parts or the motor. The sources mention things like the capacitor or the contactor pretty often.
Capacitor, contactor. What do those do again?
Think of the capacitor like a little battery that gives the motor a boost to get started.
Okay.
And the contactor is basically a heavy-duty switch that turns the power on and off to the big parts, like the compressor and the outdoor fan.
Right.
If either of those is failing, or even if the wiring connected to them is loose, they can make this electrical buzzing sound.
What else causes buzzing? Could it be the motor itself?
Yeah, definitely. A fan motor that's going bad or maybe has unbalanced blades can vibrate and buzz.
The compressor, too. It can have internal electrical issues that sound like a buzz. And another thing, especially if you're also noticing it's not cooling well.
Yeah.
Frozen evaporator coils, those are the coils inside your house. If they ice up, maybe because of bad airflow or low refrigerant.
It makes the unit struggle and buzz.
Sometimes, yeah, it can put a strain on things.
So if you hear buzzing, what can you try yourself?
Again, power off first. If you're comfortable and it looks safe, you could carefully look at visible wiring for anything obviously loose. But be super careful around electrical stuff.
Right.
If it's buzzing and not cooling well, maybe check for those frozen coils. You might see ice on them.
And how do you fix that?
You can try thawing them. Turn the AC completely off at the thermostat, but switch the fan setting to on.
Just the fan.
Just the fan. Let it run for a few hours. That circulates room air over the ice and should melt it.
Okay. And when does buzzing mean call a pro?
If the buzzing keeps happening, especially if you tried thawing the coils and it didn't help, or if it comes back.
Or if you're just not comfortable messing with wiring.
Absolutely. Any persistent electrical buzz really needs a pro. It could be that capacitor, the contactor, maybe a relay switch.
Another electrical part.
Yeah, another little switch, or it could be a problem inside the compressor. Those all need a licensed tech to check and fix safely.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about squealing or screeching? High-pitched sounds.
Yeah, that often sounds like metal on metal, or maybe like a belt slipping.
Right.
It's usually a sign of friction or stress somewhere. Very commonly, it's failing motors or bearings.
Bearings?
Yeah, little parts that help things spin smoothly, like inside the fan motor. When they wear out, you get friction, and that causes a high-pitched squeal or screech.
Okay, what else?
In some older systems, there might be a belt driving the indoor blower motor.
Yeah.
If that belt gets loose or worn, it can slip and make that awful screeching noise.
I also saw something about high pressure inside the compressor causing squealing. That sounds bad.
That's a really critical one the sources mention. Yes, if there's unusually high pressure inside the compressor, it can definitely cause a high-pitched squeal because the internal parts are under extreme stress.
So if you hear that kind of sound,
If you suspect that maybe the sound is really loud, sounds strained, or the unit just seems like it's struggling hard, the advice is unanimous. Turn the unit off immediately at the breaker.
okay, immediate power off for suspected high pressure.
Yeah.
What else could someone try themselves for squealing?
Honestly, not much safely, unless you have real experience with HVAC motors.
Oh.
Trying to lubricate bearings or change belts. It's usually best left to someone who knows exactly what they're doing. You could maybe do a quick visual check with the power off, but that's about it.
So squealing or screeching pretty much always means call a professional.
Almost always, yeah. Especially if you think it might be that high compressor pressure, or if the sound is loud and just won't quit. Diagnosing and replacing worn motor bearings, fixing pressure issues, swapping out a blower belt, those are pro jobs. A failing blower motor itself was also specifically called out as needing professional attention for this sound.
Okay. How about hissing or whistling, like air or gas escaping?
And often, that's exactly what you're hearing. The most serious cause here is a refrigerant leak.
The stuff that makes it cold.
Exactly. Refrigerant circulates under pressure. If there's a leak in the copper lines or the coils, the escaping gas can make a hissing, sometimes even a bubbling sound.
That's a problem.
Big problem. Not just because your AC won't cool properly, but refrigerant needs to be handled carefully by certified techs. It's not something you want leaking out.
What else could cause hissing besides refrigerant?
The other main possibility is air leaks. If you've got gaps or bad seals in your ductwork, or even around the AC unit itself.
Air whistles through?
Right. Especially on the return side where it's pulling air in, it can whistle as it gets sucked through a small opening.
So what's the first move if you hear hissing?
If you suspect it's that refrigerant leak, that distinct hissing noise, definitely turn the unit off right away.
Power off again.
Yes. You could also take a look at the ductwork you can easily see, maybe around the indoor unit. Check for any obvious holes or places where sections might have come apart.
But actually fixing a leak, that's a pro job.
Oh, absolutely. Refrigerant leaks need a professional, period. They have leak detectors to find the exact spot, they know how to repair the line or coil safely, and they're certified to handle and recharge the refrigerant.
Got it.
Air leaks in ducts, you might be able to seal simple ones yourself with mastic or proper tape if they're easy to reach, But big duct problems often need a pro, too.
Okay, let's shift to clicking. This one seems tricky because sometimes clicking is normal, isn't it?
That's exactly right. A single click when the system turns on. Or turns off. Usually totally normal.
What does that sound?
That's often the contactor we mentioned earlier, that heavy-duty switch. It clicks when it engages to send power and clicks when it de-engages. Perfectly fine.
But what if it's clicking a lot?
Mhm.
Like persistent clicking or rapid clicking,
Okay, that's different. That usually points towards electrical issues.
such as?
Could be a problem with the thermostat, especially older ones. Maybe it's malfunctioning and constantly trying to tell the system to turn on, causing repeated clicks.
Okay.
Or it could be an issue with a relay switch inside the unit itself, another electrical control part acting up.
Any other causes for clicking?
Yeah, similar to rattling, sometimes debris hitting the fan blades in the outdoor unit can make a clicking sound as they spin. A stick or leaf just catching the edge repeatedly.
So single click, probably okay. Persistent clicking, maybe not. What's the DIY check?
Easiest thing is to check that outdoor unit again, power off, of course. Look for any debris near the fan blades that could be getting hit.
Makes sense.
And, if you have a really old mechanical thermostat, sometimes their internal parts just click normally. But the newer digital ones, they should be pretty silent.
So when does clicking warrant a call to a professional?
If it's excessive, keeps happening, definitely not just the normal on-off click.
Right.
Or if the clicking happens but the unit doesn't turn on or has other problems, that kind of clicking suggests you need a pro to check out the thermostat, the relays, or look for other electrical component failures or shorts.
Okay. So we've hit the main specific noises, the rattles, buzzes, squeals, hisses, clicks. But what if the AC isn't making one specific weird noise, it's just loud?
Yeah, just generally noisy.
Especially the airflow noise, maybe?
Yeah,
Coming from the vents inside the house. That came up in the Reddit discussion we looked at.
that's a great point. It's sort of a different category of noise problem, isn't it?
Right.
It's often less about one broken part and more about the system's design or how it's interacting with the house, especially the ductwork.
So what did the sources, like that Reddit thread, say causes that loud air noise from vents?
Well, a few things. One is just the type of unit you have. Basic, less expensive models, they might not have much built-in noise suppression.
Like what kind of suppression?
Things like special blankets around the compressor to muffle it, or rubber gaskets on panels to stop vibration, or fan blades designed to be quieter. If you have a base model, you just hear more of the machine working.
Okay, what else?
The grills or registers on your vents themselves, if they're very restrictive, forcing a lot of air through small openings, that creates turbulence and noise.
Like whistling almost.
Yeah, or just a loud whoosh. And a big one mentioned was system sizing. If your AC unit is too powerful, pushing too much air for the size of your duct.
It's like trying to force too much water through a small pipe.
Exactly. Creates noise. Also, things we mentioned before, like an unbalanced blower fan, can add to overall loudness. And even older ductwork may be coming apart slightly, can cause turbulence and noise.
So if your vents sound like a wind tunnel, what can you actually do about it based on those sources?
Well, for noise specifically at the vent, some folks on Reddit tried simple things, like carefully bending open the little fins, the louvers on metal grills with pliers, just slightly.
To let more air through?
Yeah, hoping to reduce the restriction. Or swapping out old restrictive vent covers for newer high airflow models.
Any other ideas mentioned?
One user mentioned experimenting, just temporarily, replacing a noisy vent cover with like a piece of plywood with some gaps cut in it, just to see if changing the opening changed the sound. Definitely not a standard fix, though.
No. Sounds pretty DIY. But what about the bigger issues, like if the system really is too big for the ducts?
Yeah, that's where you need a pro. If the root cause seems to be the system pushing too much air, a good HVAC company needs to assess it.
What can they do?
They can measure airflow and pressure, check duct capacity. Solutions might involve actually resizing some ducts, adding more ducts.
Wow.
Or sometimes, if the unit allows it, they can adjust the fan speed on the indoor air handler to move a bit less air.
And adding those noise blankets and things after the fact.
Generally, no. The sources suggest you usually can't effectively add those factory sound dampening features to a unit that wasn't built with them. You kind of get the noise level that comes with the equipment you bought, though keeping it clean and maintained might help a tiny bit.
Right. Okay, so beyond noises, there are other common AC problems. What are some clear signs, non-noise signs, that it's time to call a pro?
Well, several big ones. If your AC just isn't cooling at all, or maybe won't even turn on.
What could cause that?
Could be simple stuff, Clogged filter, thermostat set wrong, dead batteries in the thermostat, maybe a tripped circuit breaker.
Things you can check easily?
Exactly. Or even the outdoor unit's power disconnect might be pulled out. But it could also be more serious things needing a pro. Low refrigerant because of a leak, a clogged condensate drain line that's tripped a safety switch.
Ah, so the system shuts itself off?
Right, to prevent water damage. Or it could be an actual motor failure, the fan motor, or even the compressor motor. Definitely need a pro for those.
What about if it is running, but the house just isn't getting cool?
Again, check the simple stuff first. Dirty filter, blocked outdoor coil, needs cleaning, thermostat settings, but very often low or leaking refrigerant is the culprit here too.
Because it can't absorb and remove heat properly.
Precisely. The system runs, but it can't do its job effectively. Another possibility the sources mention is that the unit might just be too small for your house.
Undersized.
Yeah. It physically can't remove heat fast enough to cool the space, especially on really hot days. That depends on square footage, insulation, windows, climate, lots of factors.
That sounds like a tricky diagnosis.
It is. Needs a proper load calculation by a professional.
Okay, one more common headache. The overflowing drain pan. Water everywhere.
Yeah, messy. That means the condensation that normally collects below the indoor coil isn't draining away.
Why would that happen?
Could be the little pump, if you have one, is unplugged or failed. Or, more often, the drain line itself is blocked.
Blocked what?
Usually algae, slime, sludge that grows in the dark, damp pipe over time.
Can you clear that yourself?
You might be able to. The sources suggest, after turning off the power, you could try carefully pouring a mixture of hot water and maybe a little bleach or vinegar down the drain line access point.
Hot, not boiling.
Right, don't want to damage PVC pipes. But if you're not sure where to pour it, or if it doesn't clear the clog, definitely call a pro. They have tools like wet vacs or nitrogen blast to clear it safely.
It really feels like, while you can check a few things, a lot of these performance issues point towards needing an expert pretty quickly.
I'd agree. Things like finding and fixing refrigerant leaks, adding refrigerant correctly, doing a deep, proper cleaning of the coils.
Assessing that system sizing question.
Right. Dealing with stubborn drain clogs, and especially diagnosing or replacing failed motors. Those all need the training, tools, and safety knowledge of a qualified HVAC tech.
Yeah, the sources really emphasize the safety aspect.
They did. Working with electricity, pressurized refrigerant, heavy parts, it can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Better safe than sorry.
Definitely. Okay, so we've covered sounds, performance issues, but what about smells? Unusual smells coming from the vents seem like really important clues, maybe even scary ones sometimes.
They absolutely can be. Different smells point to very different things, some critical. You should never ignore weird smells from your vents.
So what are the main smells the sources warned about? What do they mean?
Okay, first, a musty or moldy smell, like damp basement smell.
Yeah.
That's often biological growth, mold, or mildew. Usually means there's excess moisture somewhere it shouldn't be. In the ducts, the drain pan, maybe on the indoor coil itself.
Is that always bad?
Well, you might smell it very briefly the first time you turn the AC on for the season, just dust and moisture burning off. But if it lasts, that's a problem. Needs cleaning and the moisture source addressed.
Okay. What about a burning smell?
Could be innocent, just dust burning off the electric heat strips if you have them right when it kicks on. But if that smell persists or smells stronger, that's a serious warning. Could be an overheating motor or some other electrical part getting too hot.
And the really scary smells.
Right. Pay very close attention here. An electrical smell, like burning plastic or wires.
Yeah.
That strongly suggests a dangerous electrical problem. Maybe a short circuit, melting insulation, a fire hazard, basically.
Okay. That's bad. Is there anything worse?
Yes. The most critical one, the smell that requires immediate action, is a rotten egg smell, sulfur smell.
Why rotten eggs?
Natural gas itself is odorless. So the gas companies add a chemical, mercaptan, specifically because it smells like rotten eggs. It's an odorant, a warning signal.
So rotten egg smell means?
It could very well mean a natural gas leak somewhere near your HVAC system or ductwork. Extremely dangerous.
Wow. Okay, so what do you do about these smells?
For the musty smell, if it sticks around, you need to find a moisture problem and probably get the system and ducts professionally cleaned. For any burning smell that doesn't vanish instantly at startup, or any electrical or burning plastic smell, power off the unit at the breaker immediately.
Don't run it again?
No. Call an HVAC pro or an electrician right away to inspect it. Don't take chances with potential fire hazards.
And the rotten egg smell, that sounds like an emergency.
It absolutely is. If you smell rotten eggs, treat it as a gas leak. First, shut off the AC system immediately if you can do so quickly and safely. Then, leave the house or building right away.
Get everyone out.
Everyone out. From a safe distance outside, neighbor's house, call your gas company's emergency line or 911.
Don't use phones inside.
No. Don't flip any switches. Don't unplug anything. Any spark could ignite the gas. Let the emergency services handle it.
Okay, that's vital information. So understanding these noises and smells helps troubleshoot, clearly. But it seems like all the sources also really pushed prevention, right?
Definitely. Prevention is always better than repair. While, sometimes things just break, regular maintenance can seriously cut down on problems.
What kind of maintenance?
The sources strongly recommend getting regular AC tune-ups, ideally once a year, maybe twice if you use it heavily or have a heat pump, usually before the main cooling season starts.
And the number one easiest thing anyone can do.
Change your air filters. Seriously, keep saying it. A dirty, clogged filter causes so many problems.
How so?
It restricts airflow, that strains the motors, can cause overheating noises, leads to frozen coils, which cause buzzing and poor cooling, kills efficiency, and can even make smells worse by trapping moisture and gunk.
Yeah.
Just changing the filter regularly helps everything run better.
What else helps prevent issues?
Keeping ducts and vents reasonably clean helps stop buildup of dust, mold, even pests sometimes. And finally, just listening and sniffing.
Paying attention?
Exactly. Like we've been talking about. Catching a small weird noise or a faint odd smell early on, that can often let you fix something minor before it turns into a huge, expensive breakdown.
Good point. Any mention of system quality affecting prevention?
Yeah, a bit. Investing in a better quality system, maybe one with a higher SEER rating, that's the efficiency rating,
Right.
can sometimes mean more robust components and maybe quieter operation to begin with. But even the best systems need maintenance.
So wrapping this up, we've really dug into the language of your AC, decoding those sounds, those smells.
Figuring out potential causes based on what the experts and guides and even regular folks are saying.
Or getting a better feel for when you might try a quick check yourself versus when you absolutely need to call in a pro.
And the big takeaway really is, just by being a more informed listener, paying attention, you can understand the signals your system sends.
Respond the right way, keep things running smoothly, keep things safe.
Exactly.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought for you listening. Your AC talks to you through sound and smell. But what about other things in your home? Are other appliances, other parts of your house, maybe trying to tell you something with subtle cues? What might you learn if you just paid a little closer attention to all the sounds and smells your home makes every day?